So far, just laid out by hand, eyeballing the gaps. And the walls actually look pretty square. I didn't think they would be. I thought that this one would kind of be out a little bit. But I just wasn't worried about it because this is such a small area that if it's off a tiny bit, you're not really going to notice. It's this big, long wall, right, where we want it to be nice and even. And then we want to make sure that the drain doesn't look goofy. So I grabbed some of the tile, and without thinset behind them, that's close, right? So I wonder if by the time they get thinset, are they going to be out like there? And then there's going to be, right, our seam has to have caulk in it. Do we need to put corners in there? I don't know. But we do have, this is kind of sticking up some. This is going to have to be cut. But this won't have to be cut if I just trim the tips off of those so that we don't need to put a little triangle of tile in each little tiny corner. So maybe that's the real answer, is that we have this one butt up against this, like 1/8 of an inch out for our expansion. And then, let me go get those bigger tiles and see how thick they are. So this looks like this large format stuff that matches the hexagons. It looks like it's actually thicker. It's thicker than these glass ones. Yeah, for sure. Not by much, by just a little bit though. A little bit might be all we need. So there's a couple things I'm thinking of right now. One is that I just knock off the tips just enough that we know that's hidden, and that this will just pop down in there and be flat, and then we don't worry about the tips. Well, on this edge, right? Because it'll be covered up by a slightly thicker tile and have that bead of silicone for expansion. And then it's kind of the same thing like on this end, right? Do I really want to have to, I wouldn't have to individually put those in because I'd have some full pieces and some half pieces. So, it would cut along and these would still be attached to each other and could possibly lay in there. But really it would be nice to have cut through this half tile, right? And have this line, this grout, nice and straight, nice big piece coming out. I think it'll look more even. Same thing up here. If we can have halfway point of this be the edge of that, I think it's going to look a lot cleaner. And we don't worry as much about this edge unless it's going to look really goofy. Same thing on that side. We want to make sure it's a good distance away so we don't have little tiny strips of tile along the edge. So we'll play with it a little bit, kind of get it where we want. And there's a part of me wonders if those edges are going to be more important looks-wise than the grate will, but the grate's going to pop, right? Because it's this brushed bronze color, so it's going to draw your eye when you step in. You look down at see where you're putting your feet, and there's the drain, and there's tile around it, and if there's little slivers of tile or a big gap, right, or there's more than 1/8 inch of grout, it could look really goofy. So we'll have to play with it some. Okay, so water in there. I'm not bothering changing out the glass blade just because we're going to cut tips off, we're going to cut half pieces, right? And now it's small, it's just a little tile cutter, and it's going to work just fine for that glass tile. And there's very few cuts on this, so I'd like to have the guard up and put the side on keeping along the guard, so I know I have a nice straight cut. But in this case, because we're keeping so much of it, I can't. Some of it's going to hang off. But fortunately, because we want to match that grout line, it's going to be pretty easy to just eyeball it. The same thing on cutting these tips off is would be able to just say, measure the blade width. The blade might be 1/8 of an inch, right? So you might just cut a blade width or double blade width off of those tips, because they'll have a line of caulk over them, and it'll be fine. So yeah, we'll get it going. They were cut left right's looking really good, right? These will need to have the tips chopped. So this way, right now would be great because we can just lop a little bit off of these and not worry about them. As far as the drain's concerned, it's got a little bit of wiggle room, right? So I can move this thing around quite a bit inside its little spot. But really, left to right, if I get her right about there, it makes the grout match left to right. And then up and down wise, here, like right now, we'd have a little spot on each side. And I think the way to do it is I either come down, and then that's all going to be grout, which I think if we do it up ways instead, right? If I go here, that's all grout. And there'll be a little triangle here, a little triangle here. And I think we just do a flat half here. Then this is going to have a little tip that comes in. I don't know if that's going to be weird or not. These tiles are kind of an odd size for this grate. If this grate was just a little bit bigger, it would work out nicely. So we'll see. I think I'm worrying too much about it, right? The fact that I'm putting any thought into it at all is going to be better than anything else. And I think that the solution is we don't try to make them, well, maybe we do just make them even. That's going to be dumb looking. And if I do that, I'm worried about having a little tiny piece here that's going to crack, right? So if I get it upwards, that can probably go up a little further once I lop the tips off of these, now that I think about it. So yeah, I think that's going to look good. We'll shave just a tiny bit more off these two. We'll redo this one so that it's a little stronger. But yeah, this will do. And then we'll redo this height. But that's as far down as it pushes. And right now it's right about level with the tile. It'll have thinset underneath, so it needs to come up a little bit. But we'd rather have this lower than the tile than too high. But we don't want lip either. So granted, it's going to all be installed at the same time, right? So we'll just know that this is going to be really close to the bottom, right? So, and we don't want to have it click in and go too far, because I think it'd be pretty difficult to pop back up. So we'll have to figure out the best way to set this. Well, maybe we can get the height set. Oh, no, because we want thinset underneath it. 1 second. I decided just to cut this little strip off and see that little corner, right? That's kind of what I was like. I worry about that, especially see the way it cut. That's going to crack apart, right? So I need to, I only really need to redo this one little hexagon, right? So we'll use this to dry fit it, and then we'll redo this one, because especially, yeah, I can't have it cut like that, because that's for sure going to crack that. It's real early on. I'm going to get a crack right along that weak part. So can't leave it that way, but we can fit it that way, and it's only 1 hex. So we'll get this other stuff in place. We'll see how it plugs. Yeah, so you want thinset up inside everything for support. Then the ring will be thinset in place, and then all it is some little plastic wedges as part of the ring that grip onto the center part. So if I sit here and push on with my hand, it moves, and you can move it down really slowly. So that's going to be our way to do it. Another thing I'm more concerned about now after watching, I was going to miter these so you can't see the edge, but there's really none of the glaze comes over the edge really at all. So it's the same thing. I'd have a really, really thin corner on a 45, and I'd have to cut a bunch of 45s, which on that little table down there, it does tilt, but seems like a big pain in the butt. And I think what I could probably do instead is use more Rondeck, right? So we have the brass we're using around the niches, or brushed bronze, whatever it's called. But I would bet that they make one in white, right? That'll kind of match this tile. So maybe I'll see. There's a flooring store that just went in. It's the one I bought the boards at, but it's not an hour and a half away. It's only like 30 minutes away. So if they have that in stock, maybe it'll be worth shooting up to the store. Finally, to recut that guy, realized this one's going to have an even worse corner, right? So we're just going to go for it. I think that what's going to happen is eventually this will crack. Hopefully it's not noticeable enough. It's kind of tempting to leave that little notch out, right? And just have that be grout. But I guess if it does crack off and I'm able to just pull that piece out, we can just put grout in there later. So I only have to do one inside corner, one outside corner, and it looks like probably just 2 sticks because they're 8 foot, right? And we'd only be doing, I guess we wouldn't be doing this inside, I don't think, because it's gonna be so small. We'd be doing the outside down to the floor, corner piece, you know, this will just be a grout line, and then along each edge. So what are we on that? 30 something. So even if we call that 3 feet, need more hands or tripod or friends. I could make friends with people, make them come over. And there's 5 feet. So yeah, actually, if I cut one piece, it'll be perfect. I can do 2 8-foot pieces, and that's only like $60. So this piece is shorter, so cut it to go with this one, and cut this shorter to go with this longer one. A couple corner pieces, and we'll be out the door less than $100 to do Rondec instead of worrying about having mitered corners that are going to chip if somebody drops something up. So yeah, we'll see what their white looks like, if it matches, and what the wife thinks. And then grab the laser. It's a little faint on this end, but I figure if it's in the way I want it now and the spacing looks good, especially on that top row, got it lined up so just just the tips again are touching. So that way when we peel them up, I'll probably take up both of these rows. Well, yeah, the more I think about it, it's such a small area. I'm just gonna pull up all of it, use the laser instead of using itself as a guide, because once that top row is in with the laser and we know it's straight and the spacing is even between the panels, I'm not worried about the rest lining up. They'll just fall into place the same way they have now, and we can just kind of tweak them as we go. So we'll get down, get some more thinset mixed up. I'm thinking 1/3 of a bag, right? We'll go read it and see what makes the most sense. So 50-pound bag. When we did the floor pan to the floor, we mix it up in the tile setting consistency, which is 6 quarts per bag. So we're gonna do 1/3. We got 2 quarts of water ready. We got our drug scale, which surprisingly will do 11 pounds. So we're gonna get the rust and bugs and stuff out of this first, but we'll just measure. We need 16.67 pounds of powder. So we'll do 2 measurements into that. It should be enough. We'll pour the water in here first so we don't get it sticking in the corners. We'll mix it up. Same thing as last time. They do 5 minutes of mixing, 10 minutes of sitting, followed by 3 more minutes of mixing. And they want you to keep it under 300 RPM. Our drill does 575, I think, in the first gear, so we'll just do part throttle. It'll be fine. It came out a really good consistency last time, so we'll just keep following the directions, and it'll be good. Oh, finally. 5 minutes it just feels so long when you're bent over this thing. I should have put it on the cart, held the drill up high. I don't know. Shut up. Either way, 10 minutes. 10 minutes, and then do it another 3 minutes. I had to burn up all this cardboard. Maybe not today. Let's see. Ooh. Well, no going back now, right? We're mixed up. We're gonna get this stuff down, and hopefully we don't botch it up too bad. We got, a little more than 1/3 of a bucket. Not quite half a bucket, but mixed up about the same as last time, at least as much as I can remember. Yeah, we'll just get to it. So that went down pretty well. Looks like we're a little close here. Now this stuff, once it's in the thinset, it moves quite a bit easier, significantly easier than when it's on this textured Ardex. And Ardex is kind of tacky. So it's a lot easier to kind of line up the holes. Well, spots like this, see where it came up? It's almost the top of the tile. We need to clean that out and make sure that we have plenty of space for grout. So, yeah, overall, we're getting really good spots. We do have those high spots. So I need stiff bristled brush and probably a sponge with some water to wipe the top of the tile off. Now, I don't want to have to lean over my old, the installed tile and push it down too hard and end up with the same type of thing. So I'm going to run real quick and grab a sponge now and a little bit of water and probably just an old toothbrush and deal with that real quick. Okay, so I guess to deal with that high spot, we want to get this stuff out of there, see? Right, we don't need it in between, it only needs to be on the bottom of the tile. And I'm just wiping it on the floor behind me so I have somewhere to deal with it. Get out, get out. That's high spot, here's high spot. And then that little bit that gets on top, just get a wet sponge. Should wipe off pretty easy. And you don't want to squeeze a bunch of water in between the cracks either, right? So, but we do want to get that stuff out. So we have nice deep grout lines. Last thing we need is grout that's going to crack and look gross. I'm going to save this too. Like I have a knife, right, that can cut. So we can cut some of this out. It's just got a little abrasive end on it, but anything we do now, we got plenty of time, plenty of working time. So a little bit now saves us work later. And those are the only two. Oh no, there's one more right up here. One little tiny spot right in this corner. So try to lift a bit of that stuff out. Some of me worries if I get too much water in there, it's going to mess with the way that tile bonds, but that looks a lot better. All right, let's get that next row up. There we go. Had to get a charger out. These batteries don't last for crap in these GoPros. They probably last better on lower quality settings. I don't know. Yeah, this drain stuff goes pretty thick in the drain area. Kind of mixed feelings. It's going to press out. I've got my test plug in the drain so that if anything does fall in, it's not going to go down in the pipe. I'm probably putting on quite a bit more than I really need to because that flange is going to press down into here. And then, yeah, so let's get that. Yeah, I want to get the flange in most of the way before I mess with the little tiles around it, right? Because they're going to be sitting on a pretty thick layer of thinset, and I don't want them to end up looking goofy or being at funny angles. So I check beforehand. I can get my test plug out with the top of the grate off, so there's really no worries there. And we want to make sure that that there's enough in here. So I'm going to get thinset in the little ridges. I wonder how far through those screws go, because we don't want thinset up in the screw holes, right? So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just put those screws in a little further than they are when the grate's installed, and that'll protect those threads. Yeah, that'll work. I'm just going to take my smaller trowel and make sure that this hole, there's that lip on the inside. I'd like that to be full. So the side part we can do once it's installed. We can push it in this way. But it'd be difficult to make it go up into that little lip. Now every little bit's going to help, right? We want as much stability as we can where the drain is, because it's going to be the most susceptible to cracking, I think. Okay. Probably going to put tape over that. I have to clean this up a couple times as we go. Like I said, I'm probably should have just covered it in painter's tape, but yeah, hindsight's 20/20. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's get the rest of this stuff in, and we'll worry about cleaning that up in detail. This is an area where I think somebody that does this for a living would be a lot more efficient, and they'd be a lot more confident in what's going on. Like, I'm realizing that I can't get ridges back here very easily now. So the angle's not right. I want the lines all go in the same direction. Granted, it's a little hexagons. It's not like it's a giant tile that would trap air in between. But it's like, you know, we're making a hell of a mess with this stuff. So I think, yeah, I mean, we can just clean it off, right? And clean out our little areas that are too big. Get it moving. I'm going to actually set the rest of this row so I know everything's lined up right, and then we'll come back and do our small pieces and whatnot. See, now I should have packed in there more. Well, let's get it down and we can pull it back up. Right. So it's going to be a little bit lower than that installed, and it's actually already squeezing out on the sides. So the only thing I'm worried about is like here where there's a gap and there's a ton of material here. So it's doing my fingers. Somebody's probably cringing right now, right? Watching me do that. Messy. Not as easy as it looks, you know? You gotta give the guys credit. Like, there's a reason they cost so much. I mean, which is also the reason I'm trying to do it myself, but I can't even imagine, even with a couple dudes, like the amount of knowledge you have to come in and do this kind of stuff in a few days or a week. It's just crazy. So I feel like I've already pushed that too far down, right? Enough level. I don't know if I have the level small enough to deal with it. Well, right in the middle of doing the drain stuff, I filled the memory card up. So, unfortunate. I just would rather get working than worry about trying to spend 15 minutes unloading files and redoing stuff. So, this went ahead and wrapped up. It looks really good, I think. Maybe up here it's a little wide, but it's at the point where I don't really want to move it. I don't think it's really not. Yeah, it's gonna be good. And then this came out. I think it came out okay, right? It's got a square around the square, and they're not perfect. Oh, yeah, same thing. I don't want to touch these too much and have them get really goofy. So I think once the grout's in place, it's gonna look pretty good. That's the next step, right? So, well, I don't know if I should grout it before I start doing wall work or not, right? Because we're gonna want to start on this wall and figure out where the niches are going to be so we can do those cutouts and get them waterproof before we set much more in. Now, that tile, or not the tile, the thinset that I mixed up, right, my third of a bag, we only used about half of it. So we know for a surface area this large, a sixth of a bag is going to work. And we can roughly say 1, 2, 3. So it's going to take half a bag to do this wall. It's not going to take half a bag to do this wall and this. So really I probably only need one more bag of this stuff, one full bag. And we've got, I think I have 3 plus the bag I used some for today downstairs. Yes, I have 3 full untouched bags and essentially what is at least half a bag left. So I think we can return 2 of these. I'll give them a call and see what they say about it. And in this day and age, because I used a card to pay for it, they should have my info and be able to say, new car seat, right? Kid's getting too big, so we bought him a big poofy thing. They should be able to just look up that I did buy it there, and then at a minimum give me a store credit that I'll use up anyway. Now, stuff we won't return, right, is we've got 2 full sheets of this left. So I'm thinking when I do mix up another small batch, I should have done it today, but it just didn't, it didn't register. I've been taking I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's that white stuff out on the fire pit. I've been icing it like a cake with the leftover thinset when I do this stuff, but it's an expensive cake, right? So I think we'll bond one of these to a piece of Curdy board because we don't have anything else to do with it other than throw it in the garbage, right? So bond it to that piece. We've already got some glass right here. I think that's good enough. What it may be, yeah, that's good enough. Because what I want to see is if I buy up some epoxy grout, is it going to scratch this glass, right? Like how tough is this? Because if it's good glass tile, it shouldn't scratch it. It should be hard enough that it doesn't care. But if it's like low temperature fired junk, then it's gonna scratch the surface and look like junk. So then we'd have to do unsanded, normal grout, unsanded grout on the walls. I think we can get away with epoxy on the floor. And with it being a shower, I'd really like to do that if I can. Especially these are kind of a matte finish. So, yep, we'll get this. There's a high spot. Oh wow, that's already pretty hard. Let's break it loose so it comes out easier. We should just stop fiddling with it and deal with it when it's all dried up. Yeah, so I'll get some video edited up tonight, and then we'll get back at it again. Probably tomorrow I can start cutting, the vertical portions right? Make this top, make it flat with the top, so when we get our edging, we're gonna install the edging in the top piece of tile at the same time and be done with it.